Horror games have been around basically ever since the medium's inception, with the oldest horror game that I could find being Haunted House, which was released in 1972. As the medium evolved and hardware advanced, more and more horror games were able to scare players who played them, especially in the 90s with the release of the first Resident Evil and Silent Hill. But in the year 2014, a game will be released that will change the horror gaming genre forever. And I am of course talking about The Forest, an amazing horror game that changed the horror genre for— I'm kidding guys, the game is Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously. August 8th, 2014, an indie game developer named Scott Cawthon released Five Nights at Freddy's. After negative feedback he got from his previous game, Zipper and Son Slumber Co., he decided to make his last game before he left the indie gaming scene. Now Fnaf is one of the most popular gaming franchises out there, and for the 10th anniversary of this game, I wanted to see if it was actually good or if it was just hype. So let's dive into Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror phenomenon. The gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's, despite being deceptively simple, is really intense and creepy. Despite being a survival horror game, it has no aspects from any other survival horror game, such as puzzle solving or backtracking. Instead, FNAF feels more like a simple resource management game, with saving power, surviving until 6 AM, etc. Because you cannot fight back, we are given doors to protect ourselves from the animatronics. But in order to know where the animatronics are, we are given a camera system and the door lights. The cameras act as a way where we can see where the animatronics are or where they aren't. And the light tells us if the animatronics are outside our door or not. And if at some point you fail, you have to redo it again. The gameplay loop is simple yet effective. In fact, at some more difficult points in the game, it becomes more muscle memory than constantly thinking about each aspect of the gameplay. Also, each of the animatronics have their own unique mechanics. Bonnie starts from the show stage and she will come slowly from your left side of the office, while Chica is practically the same with Bonnie, with the only difference being that she comes from the right side instead of the left side, and she could be heard from the kitchen. Foxy, on the other hand, is completely different. Foxy is active from night 2 and onward, and he will be more aggressive the more you don't look at him. And he has 4 phases before he breaks towards your office. In the first phase, Foxy is behind his curtain. In his second phase, Foxy is seen peeking out of his curtain. In his third phase, Foxy is out of his curtain and he's ready to come for you. And in his last phase, Foxy is not visible in or out of his curtain, which means that you should quickly close your left door before Foxy jump scares you. And Freddy, who is similar to Chica but also in a very different way. Freddy will be active from night 3 and onward, and he will come slowly to your office. While he moves from place to place, he makes a humming sound. But the thing that makes Freddy different from Chica is the fact that if Freddy comes outside your door, he'll stay there or go back in the right hallway, and he'll be switching back and forth from your door and the hallway. Also, there's the mysterious Golden Freddy. He is a rare Easter egg character that will replace the Freddy poster in the East Hall with a poster that resembles him. If you see Golden Freddy, the words "It's me" will appear with Golden Freddy in your office. The only way to get rid of him is to flip your monitor. If you fail to do so, Golden Freddy will jump scare you and crash your game. All of these gameplay mechanics makes for a chaotic, stressful yet fun experience that complements well with the horror and atmosphere of the game. Speaking of which, let's talk about the horror that FNAF 1 creates. Fnaf 1 perfectly encapsulates the look and feeling of dingy early 2000s children's establishments aesthetic. Now, as someone who hasn't visited a place like Freddy Fazbear's as a kid, because I live in Greece and we don't have those kinds of establishments here, it's kind of difficult for me to relate with these kids who who did go there. However, Fnaf 1 does such an excellent job with its atmosphere and aesthetic that I am still creeped out by it, even though I hadn't previously went in a location like this. Also, the audio in this game complements very well with the creepy atmosphere of this game. The little sound of electricity, the desk fan, Foxes and Freddy's humming, and the occasional echo through the hallways really emphasize the lack of life in this abandoned location. The way that Fnaf 1 handles its audio is perfect, from hearing the footsteps slowly coming closer to you, Chica making weird noises in the kitchen, but us not being able to see what she's actually doing in there. What I'm trying to say is that Fnaf 1 nails with the creepy and terrifying atmosphere. But the horror doesn't stop here. Fnaf 1's animatronic designs are the perfect combination of child-friendly and creepy. Their designs are perfect. They are supposed to look friendly, but there's also something quite off about them. They feel so lifeless, so uncanny. Personally, I think that Chica is the scariest out of all the animatronics in Fnaf 1. She feels so wrong. There's little to no emotion able to be conveyed with how she looks. She never looks happy, she never looks angry, there's nothing, no emotion. These animatronics aren't supposed to look happy, but not angry either. They have an emotionless expression that I can't really describe. All of these animatronics combined make Fnaf 1 a great horror game, with creepy atmosphere, terrifying sound and noises, and uncanny and lifeless animatronic designs. Also, the story and Easter eggs complement the horror, but I want to talk about it in a more in-depth way. Now, the story of Fnaf 1 is relatively simple. We play as a night guard named Mike Schmidt, tried to survive 5 nights in the rundown Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And that's the basic plot of the game. However, with the help of Easter eggs and fungi, we're able to understand more about the story of this game. The first night starts with fungi informing us about the job and telling us basic things, such as the animatronics have been performing for 20 years, that they are in some kind of free roaming mode, the animatronics see you as an endoskeleton without its costume on, so they want to stuff you inside of a Freddy Fazbear suit. You know, the typical stuff. And the infamous bite of 87, which 10 years later we still don't know what it is. This first phone call establishes the world of Fnaf in the best way possible. The second night starts with fungi congratulating us for being still alive, meaning that previous night guards didn't even pass the first night. Then fungi talks more about the importance of using our lights and that the animatronics tend to get more and more aggressive with every passing night. On the third night, fungi doesn't tell us much. He just tells us that many people don't last as long and the way that we may survive an animatronic encounter, but he quickly scratches that idea. On the fourth night, we hear that fungi gets caught by the animatronics. And on the fifth night, we don't hear fungi since he's dead, but rather some creepy noises and the Fnaf 1 jumpscare sound playing in the background. Now I want to talk about the little Easter eggs that have story implications, such as the words "It's me" appearing on the screen. In the East Hall, the posters will change to crying and screaming kids, or the most important of all, the rules in the East Hall corner. The rules in the East Hall corner will occasionally change into one of 4 newspapers that tells us more about the story of the game. The first newspaper tells us that 2 kids went missing on June 26 on Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and the police thinks that the suspect for this is someone wearing a mascot costume from the restaurant. The second newspaper tells us that now 5 kids were reported missing. The police thankfully caught the man who did this, but the bodies themselves were never found. It is also pointed out that the suspect lured the kids into the back room while wearing a cartoon mascot costume. The third newspaper states that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is threatened again to shut down after many parents reported foul odor coming from the animatronics. And the last newspaper tells us that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has announced that it will close by year's end. These newspapers add so much interesting stuff into the story of the game, and it makes our perspective of the game so much different. Now, is Fnaf 1 a good game? Yes, absolutely. This game is one of the greatest and charming horror games out there, with its simple yet effective gameplay, its mysterious story, and terrifying atmosphere. Fnaf 1 is easily a 10 out of 10 in my book, and if you haven't already, I highly recommend you give it a shot, and I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a Fnaf 10 anniversary special video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't worry, I will cover more Fnaf games in the future. I have been Dark Acid, and have a good one.